Hello, my name is Christina Long, and I am the founding principal of Vertical Architecture Enterprises, a full-service Baltimore City architecture practice. And I am the co-founder of the Baltimore Modular, or BMOD initiative. Thank you, Aaron Rice, for inviting me to represent BMOD at this Maryland Climate Tech Plus 2026 virtual experience. We see our efforts to accelerate industrialized housing delivery in Maryland as very much aligned with the theme of this event today, housing as healthcare. I'll be sharing who is BMOD, why we started BMOD, where our BMOD efforts are focused, what we mean by industrialized offsite construction and why that's important for accelerating housing delivery, how we are going about achieving our goals, and when this is all going to happen. So where are the efforts of the Baltimore Initiative focused? As the name of our initiative suggests, we are sparked into action by our fine city of Baltimore with all of its opportunities and challenges. And so the who, what, where, when, why, and how of what I will share today is focused on the city of Baltimore. But if our efforts are to be successful, we are thinking about how our entire state of Maryland can support a thriving ecosystem of industrialized offsite construction. Let me explain why I think Baltimore and Maryland need to cultivate an industrialized construction ecosystem and why we started the BMOD initiative to help accelerate that cultivation. Baltimore has over 12,500 vacant houses and more than 21,000 vacant lots. Those numbers represent decades of economic disinvestment. Vacant homes are not just a housing issue, they are evidence of a fractured neighborhood economy. And while the Baltimore City Division of Homeownership and Housing Preservation manages the essential and very important LIGHT program that connects existing homeowners to grants for loans for energy efficiency improvements, lead remediation, and repairs addressing emergencies, code violations, and health and safety issues, the funding for this popular program is challenged by its very popularity. We have thousands of city residents who cannot afford to make essential repairs to their house. Some of them wait for years for LIGHT funding. Others abandon homes with leaking roofs or heating systems that no longer work. This is one way new vacants are born. Let's talk about the workforce reality that is contributing to why some people must live for years in unhealthy homes, and why it is also not financially viable for others to renovate vacants. Part of the challenge in doing repairs is the lack of people doing repairs, and it's only going to get worse. Roughly 40% of the construction workforce is over 45. That means we are facing significant retirement pressure over the next decade. At the same time, industry forecasts estimate that more than 600,000 additional workers are needed annually just to meet the demand. And skilled labor shortages consistently rank among contractors' top constraints. So while everyone wants to see solutions to rebuild Baltimore at scale, we're not starting from a surplus labor capacity. We're asking an already strained system to deliver more. That's a structural issue. So when we look at who is able to participate in traditional construction, the barriers are consistent. Transportation, childcare, safety, predictable schedules. Construction is traditionally site-based and constantly moving. If you rely on public transit, that's a constraint. If you're a parent without flexible childcare, that's a constraint. If you need stable hours to maintain housing or benefits, that's a constraint. So while the industry faces overall labor shortages, the structure of the work itself excludes many of the people who could otherwise participate. So the question becomes, what changes if we shift production, the whole model of production? Industrialized offsite construction centralizes production. Instead of sending crews to constantly shifting sites, work happens in a controlled environment. That creates greater consistency in scheduling. It allows training to be standardized. It improves safety conditions for workers, and it makes it easier to integrate wraparound support because the workplace is stable. From a workforce perspective, it begins to resemble advanced manufacturing applied to housing production. And the shift isn't just about efficiency, it's about making participation for all Baltimoreans and Marylanders more structurally possible. So the problems are clear: vacants, homes soon to be vacants, and not enough people working in construction. What then is the holistic, sustainable, large-scale approach? Fortunately for Baltimore, the stars are starting to align for such an approach. As brilliantly laid out in Rebuild Metro's 2023 report, there is a vision for a large-scale whole block approach. And the stars have aligned to bring the political will and even financial commitments necessary to push the needle on this. There is a $3 billion 15-year commitment to redevelopment. There is political alignment, there's community development, infrastructure in place. But scale requires capacity. And the capacity needed requires that we industrialize how we build. That is why we started the Baltimore Modular Initiative. Who is the Baltimore Modular team? Baltimore Modular was intentionally formed in 2024 as a small interdisciplinary core team rooted in the four quadrants comprising the quadruple helix model of innovation: government, nonprofit, education, and industry sectors. Collaboration between all four sectors is essential for innovation to succeed. Vertical Architecture, my company, provides large-scale project management, architectural design, and thinking about ways to optimize the industrialized construction project lifecycle. Morgan State brings architectural construction management and supply chain expertise, grounding this work in design, education, research, and applied systems thinking. They are also the ones who own the drone with the laser scanner. City Life Community Builders brings nonprofit development experience and deep knowledge of Baltimore's row house context. MCCEEI, the Maryland Center for Construction Education and Innovation, contributes workforce and industry alignment, connecting redevelopment to training pathways and labor strategy. Ethan Cohen brings experience in government and planning, helping navigate the public sector alignment. And ModX provides applied research and global perspective on industrialized construction. They are our advisors. Beyond the core team, BMOD operates with a much broader ecosystem: developers, contractors, city agencies, community development organizations, educators, manufacturers. This reflects a true quadruple helix model, all aligned, these various sectors. Because scaling housing delivery isn't just a design exercise. It requires coordination across institutions, and this slide represents the early alignment necessary to make that possible. So who brings us to this vision? This brings us to the vision of BMOD. And I put this in the Who is BMOD section because this vision is what holds the who of BMOD together. Our core purpose is to create a local, inclusive ecosystem that connects housing production, workforce development, and industrial capacity in Baltimore, not as separate initiatives, but as one coordinated system. Our mission isn't just about delivering housing units, it's about how those units are delivered. The process is the product. If we structure production differently, if we align design, manufacturing, workforce pathways, and public investment and regulations, then we're not just rebuilding houses, we're rebuilding local capacity. And long term, the ambition is larger than a single project or pilot. It's positioning Baltimore as a leader in industrial offsite construction and workforce alignment, rooted in our row house context and our redeveloped needs. It isn't about importing a model, it's about building one that fits Baltimore. Let's take a few minutes to define what is industrialized offsite construction and what does it have to do with delivering housing. I find it helpful to define industrialized and offsite separately. Industrialized construction simply means a type of construction that utilizes manufacturing-based principles and production methods, whether they be on-site or off-site. Off-site construction is an approach to construction in which the process is completed off-site in an enclosed environment and then installed on-site. Off-site construction systems are categorized by the degree to which structural components are prefabricated. 1D kitted parts, 2D open panel systems that consist of walls, floors, or roof elements shipped flat to the site. 2D closed panel systems with enhancements such as windows, electrical wiring, and finishes pre-installed. And 3D volumetric modular. It's important to note here that as BMOD, we're not advocating any one system. We're advocating a process in which the right system is selected for a particular application. That very well might be one thing for a retrofit and another for an infill project, and certainly another for an occupied homeowner's renovation needs. Industrialization doesn't mean automation. As we've toured factories in Europe and the Northeast, we have seen a wide range of automation, such as this highly automated facility in Scotland, shown in this panorama, where people are trained on computer interfaces that control robots, to those facilities that rely predominantly on human labor, working inside on tables. I also want to point out that industrialized housing delivery can be sustainable housing delivery. Many countries, such as Sweden, Ireland, and Great Britain, and parts of the US, are focused on industrialization with wood due to its carbon capture, renewability, and affordability. And we have seen experimentation with wood products for insulation in lieu of fiberglass or foam. Countries also like wood because it can be a homegrown, sustainable solution that will lead to less reliability on imports. Where is this industrialized construction revolution taking hold? While industrialized home building got its start in the US, countries such as Japan and Sweden are leading the way now. Japan's Sekisui House, the world's largest prefab home builder, founded in 1960, has built over 2 million homes. They are exemplars of industrialized housing delivery, a process that applies industrialization to every step from design to manufacturing to on-site placement. Industrialized housing delivery is happening around the world because when it finds the context to thrive, it can deliver affordable, energy-efficient, high-quality homes at scale through its mass standardization or even mass customization. Must cities, such as Baltimore, with our existing housing stock, demolish large swaths of our city to effectively build to scale in the 21st century? Is demolishing our city the only way we can live in healthy, energy-efficient, resilient homes? There are a lot of reasons why we cannot and should not demolish our way towards the future. But we have these existing conditions, these very messy, challenging existing conditions that need to be adapted in some way if we are to retrofit them with off-site made elements. For some reason, I find myself looking to the hot dog as a source of inspiration for a conceptual approach to this problem. Cow, aka existing conditions, processed somehow into slender cylindrical shapes that can be joined with a roll that was baked in a factory elsewhere. How we go about making the hot dogs, so to speak, is a huge focus of our EPA grant BMOB was awarded. So let's talk about how we are going to realize the vision for Baltimore Modular and how the work on our EPA grant is helping us achieve our goals. BMOD was fortunate to be awarded an EPA Region 3 Thriving Communities grant in 2025. Our goals for the grant are to develop conceptual designs for a product line of off-site built components suitable to Baltimore's row house neighborhoods. This product line would consist of a kit of parts that could be reconfigured in various ways for a ground-up infill lot, or a vacant retrofit, or even a rear extension with a new kitchen and mechanical equipment for an occupied home, as an example. This product line takes into account what needs to be done on site with the messy existing conditions. We would test then that platform on design concepts for a pilot project, and we'd explore requirements for a Baltimore microfactory. Then map the trades, skills, jobs, and career paths that would be part of an offsite construction sector. We're also asking questions about regulatory and financing changes needed for this to take hold here. We are very happy that Reframe Systems, who would very much like to establish a microfactory in Baltimore, has agreed to let us base our conceptual designs on their product line. We are designing based on the capabilities of their manufacturing facility. We will also base the hypothetical microfactory narrative for our grant on a Reframe Systems factory. For our job mapping efforts, we first map the work. We break down each stage of a retrofit from assessment and design to modular fabrication, installation, and long-term maintenance, and identify the occupation skills and credentials required at each phase. Second, we map the people. We look at Baltimore's existing workforce infrastructure, apprenticeships, CTE programs, unions, community colleges, and identify where capacity already exists and where there are gaps. And third, we map the pathways. We connect each phase of production to clear career ladders and credential options, identifying entry points for residents and progression over time. Because if we don't define the workforce architecture intentionally, it won't build itself. And I just want to note that Maryland Center for Construction Education and Innovation, with their long experience in workforce development, has been essential at for this scope and regarding workforce development. As part of our conceptual pilot project, we'll tell the story of a hypothetical offsite project lifecycle, from design for manufacture and assembly to offsite manufacturing to logistics to on-site assembly and maintenance post-occupancy. With inputs from our community partners, we are developing a conceptual design for unit types. We will take a product platform approach. The product platform is the design system, or rather the logics of parts and subassemblies, known also as modules, and their physical relationships. Why break things down into modules? Because that allows for flexibility and interchangeability to achieve economies of scale without standardizing the product. And it also allows for continual improvement of portions of a product without complete redesign. This ability to continually refine will allow us over time to evaluate which combinations of modules and materials that comprise those modules meet or exceed targets for energy efficiency and healthy home environments. So how then are we approaching the pairing of existing conditions with off-site made modules? It calls for a process taxonomy for existing conditions involving mapping, digitization, assessment, stabilization, and typology standardization. Creating a digital twin at the very beginning, using laser scanning to generate a point cloud, is an essential step. And we now have tools that automatically convert that scan into objects that can be selected and categorized. We envision that before a structural engineer is deployed to investigate site conditions, a digital twin walkthrough is done with the aid of a process taxonomy framework. Does unit have intact roof? Yes or no? Does unit have intact floors? Yes or no? Are there elements requiring demolition for units to conform to typology standardization? On and on until each property is assigned an initial condition, existing conditions typology standard. For example, type 2.2, shell, midlot, front facade plus two common walls. Then the process will continue on site with the structural engineer potentially carrying an iPad displaying the digital twin to confirm initial assumptions and make more detailed structural assessments. Here's where the hot dog meets the bun. We then pair the offsite unit types based on community input we collected as part of our grant efforts with the on-site typology standards. For example, Unit C, a double skinny, would be paired with an existing typology standard that was identified as a number 3 double shell lot. We are doing all of this so as to benefit from keeping as much of the existing structure as possible, while also benefiting from the utilization of industrialized housing delivery. We are trying to find the optimal balance of existing and new construction. When is all this going to happen? The work of our EPA grant will result in a report we are delivering this spring. We also hope in the very near future to take our EPA grant work to the next level, from a conceptual pilot plan to an actual pilot development project. Looking ahead 10 years from now, I want to look back to Detroit of 1960. This is a map of Detroit from the 1960 auto show, Detroit's heyday. 12 miles separated Ford's plant and General Motors, and there were lots of other factories in between. Not one factory, but many. This was a robust ecosystem because they built everything automotive, from station wagons to vans to trucks, and many of the parts that went into all of this. We're focusing today on housing, but the path to getting there requires industrializing the way we build everything: offices, schools, and hot dogs. We hope that the EPA grant report will serve as a seed for a regional action plan to make Baltimore a robust, industrialized construction hub to meet the challenges that lay ahead, especially the challenges for creating healthy homes for the people of Baltimore City and the state of Maryland. Thank you. And I invite you to reach out to me with your questions and thoughts.
Absolutely. Christina, thank you so much. That was great. Congratulations on the grant award. So is BMOD a for-profit, nonprofit, fiscally sponsored?
We are a we are an initiative that was founded by Vertical Architecture, my company, and the Maryland Center for Construction, Education, and Innovation. It is an MOU that connects us in this initiative of MCCEI and Vertical. And we have various people that you've seen on my slides who continue to show up to meetings.
Myself being
Um,
one.
uh, in our fund in the EPA grant, the grant is MCCAI is the nonprofit awardee. So
Understood.
they
Understood.
are the ones who hold the grant
Okay.
as the manager of the grant.
Got it. So this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I heard is that the grant is funding more of a research study of sorts, so that you can,
It's a planning grant.
a planning
Yeah.
grant. Okay, great, great. Yeah, I had a couple of questions about when can we start seeing homes?
Yeah, I
So
want to stress that everything we're doing for the grant is conceptual.
got it.
Conceptual is the key word.
Got it. Well, I mean, it's definitely a needed study to figure out, kind of what the what the capacity of the landscape is from a workforce development perspective, maybe from a demand
Yeah.
perspective as well. And so, very excited to hear that you're, you know, embracing or working with ModX and Ryan Smith. He's also one of our presenters as well, and Chad Reed with Ivy Innovations is also one of our presenters, and I know that I think you all visited some spaces up in Refame's factory in Boston. I think Chad was on site for that
Yes.
as well. So, what was that experience like visiting the site in Boston? I know you visited a few across the globe, but
Well, we've been on, I personally have been now on two exchanges that have been organized by ModX. They really work to connect people who are trying to innovate industrialized construction, particularly housing delivery around the globe.
hmm
And so I was fortunate with Jen DeWeese of Maryland Center for Construction Education and Innovation.
hmm
We went to Scotland in November to tour various facilities. And what struck me from that tour is, and all the people we met from Sweden and Ireland and the US who were also on that tour, is how similar all our problems are. We're all grappling with the lack of affordable housing, labor shortages. We all want to build sustainable, resilient homes. We're all dealing with the same problems. And so it makes sense that we come together and learn from each other. And that's why I'm so grateful that Modix exists
hmm
to connect us there. I've learned leaps and bounds from my affiliation with them, and I'm forever grateful to those guys. Um, And so Boston was another exchange where it was uh, attended mostly by US stakeholders. But it was great to see so much innovation happening in the US.
hmm
It gave me great optimism. We saw two extremes. We saw three extremes, really. We saw Benson Wood Homes, who has long worked in this space more from a high-end timber frame custom home world, but they are with their Unity Homes products, they're really getting into well-built homes for a broader group of people. And so that was really great to see how they've applied what they've learned over the years to their scaling up efforts with the Unity Homes. And it's wonderful to see their embrace of almost their homes almost are like net zero. They're not uh that they're showing that that's just the way they build, that that is a possibility. I mean, they say, are their homes more expensive? Yes. I mean, the wall is thicker. It has more insulation. It will cost more, but it is a better building over the span of the life of the home. So it was really great to see what Benson Wood is doing and Unity Homes is doing. And then from there we went to a global innovator, Saint-Gobain, and their certainty work. So there we saw a 300 plus year old company started in Europe, how they continue to innovate and how that not only touches and how they share innovation from various sectors, the aeronautics, they design planes, they design um, cars and houses, how all their research for materials can benefit innovation in materials for housing.
hmm
And so that was really exciting to see that focus, that real research lab and serious money behind that.
hmm
Um, So that was really exciting to see. And then we went to Reframe, which very impressive. I mean, those guys are all former Amazon logistics soft engineers. And so it's exciting to see these these people, these very talented people apply what they know from their Amazon logistics day to the problem of housing. And it just had such an exciting energy. And um, I was grateful to be able to walk through their facility. I was grateful to see it up close and personal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And,
And
and
yes, and Aaron and you know, we got to meet various people too, the Ivory and
mhm.
ModX people and yeah.
But my tours of the factories that I've been to, and I've only been to two or three of them, they have trash cans, trash bins on site, not dumpsters. But when you go to a actual, on site, stick-built construction, I went to a townhome community. There's literally a dumpster backed up to every single home,
Yeah.
and just the amount of waste that happens by doing it kind of, I guess, the old-fashioned way,
Yeah.
as opposed to doing it this way. So I guess my question is, I know HUD at one point was very much involved with industrialized construction and kind of getting behind this. And I know, this current administration is very much about manufacturing and industrializing and putting some resources behind that. Are you finding that dealing with HUD under these current circumstances has some runway, or is it more probably waiting on a different administration because it seems like they're behind manufacturing. And it
Yeah.
seems like they're behind home building and affordability, so they should be kind of all for what you're looking to do.
Well, I don't have an inside view into the administration's plans.
Okay.
So, but um, BMOD went after a HUD grant last summer, an innovation grant that
Hmm.
was going to be quite sizable. It was going to be a game changer for us. And it was put out in the summertime under this administration. And in that case, Morgan State University was going to be the the main applicant for BMOD. So we're excited to kind of align BMOD with Morgan for that. And we are aligned. I mean, three Morgan professors are part of BMOD. Uh, and we worked, I mean, basically that was our month of July working on that grant. And we had some good feelings about it because we had great support from Secretary Day
Hmm.
here, the housing secretary. We had great support from the Baltimore City Mayor's office. Of course, ModX supported us and various community development organizations. And we were really optimistic, going in with Morgan State. And we found out that they canceled the grant. So it was very frustrating. It was like, really? Okay.
Well, at least you've got a
But
nice, at least you've got a great project narrative and a budget prepared for the next
yeah,
opportunity.
so I'm seeing, I think that there was, 2025 was a year of a lot of um
Change.
reorganization. And I have reason to believe that HUD is now um wanting to reconnect with people working
Hmm.
in this space.
Hmm.
So I am for 2026, I'm full of optimism
Hmm. Hmm.
for finding partners like HUD to
Hmm.
help support initiatives like BMOD because
Hmm.
we need it. I mean,
Right.
we this is not we fall what is challenging for us is that we fall in kind of a funding black hole. Like a lot of local foundations want to put money towards a pilot project that's ready to go,
Hmm.
or a jobs program that will immediately give people hammers to go hammer stuff. And there's serious R&D that needs to happen here. The upfront costs for design and, project development, pre-development. Let's just
Mhm.
call it the pre-development phase. That's substantial. And people also need to understand that the first pilot project is not going to be a cost savings over traditional. It's not. It's going to be more expensive probably. But it's not a one and done. You need to do lots of them and think about how you scale. A lot of what we've been talking about with ModX and um, what we are trying to engage with in anyone who will listen to us is the importance of demand aggregation when it comes to manufacturing. If we need to build this way if we're to meet the demand. Clearly, traditional construction isn't meeting it. Okay, so we have to industrialize. Okay, but industrialized manufacturing facilities require a steady stream of demand. So, how are we organizing ourselves? How are developers, government, how are we coming together to ensure that that demand is aggregated so that developers have some forecast of they're what they are are planning for?
In my brief research about, different examples, and I think I might have seen this on a one of Ryan Smith's Maddox podcasts, was uh, a company called Bokluk in Sweden. It's a JV
Oh, I met
between
them. Yes.
Skanska
Yeah.
and IKEA. And
Yeah.
one of the secrets of their success from what I've researched is they really identified who the prospective buyer of their home was. It was a single mom, two kids. She was an educator, and they really wanted to build homes for that kind of demographic.
Mhm.
Have you all identified, or will that come out in the report? Maybe an avatar of who your prospective buyer is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So part of this grant effort, being an EPA Region 3 Thriving Communities grant, we were required, and we wanted to pick an area that was mapped as environmentally, had environmentally degraded,
Mhm.
disadvantaged. I'm probably not using the right term, but we honed in on South Baltimore because it not only was on those maps, but it had plenty of vacants. It has a history of industrialized manufacturing, work. It's by the harbor. So all those things made South Baltimore a good hypothetical location for this grant
Mhm.
planning effort. I should note, I mean, what a BMod microfactory or a pilot project could happen anywhere in Baltimore
Mhm.
or really any city. But for the EPA Thriving Communities Grant, we focused on South Baltimore. And as part of that grant, we really needed to connect with community organizations in South Baltimore. And so here's where uh, MCCEI and Ethan Cohen uh, have really done a lot in terms of community outreach,
Mhm.
talking to communities, understanding housing needs and employment needs, and what they would like to see in a unit.
Mhm.
And I know this has been done by numerous um, nonprofits and housing providers before, but it helps that we hear it directly, especially in the context of what we're trying to do. So we have taken the time to listen to community stakeholders for this grant in South Baltimore.
No, I appreciate that. South Baltimore is definitely a community that definitely needs this type of focus. For example, the 21223 zip code has the highest rate of asthma-related emergency room visits in the state of Maryland, and I would probably presume in the country because Baltimore City has the highest rate of asthma-related fatalities. in the nation, with African American women 4 times more likely to die from asthma than white men, and African American children 6 times more likely to die from asthma than white children. So, and the 21223 zip code, the upper part of your map, is ground zero for that. And then secondly, the Carroll Park Recreation Center, which underwent a recent $3.5 million renovation. I was there for a sustainability open house last year. Had the absolute worst indoor air quality that I've ever measured in any building that I've been in in the entire country. 4,000 plus parts per million of carbon dioxide, which is kind of a run away from this building type of environment, which is really unfortunate to see a building undergo a renovation that did not perform as it should. And so that's, I guess, kind of our big concern where we've got a lot of, Maryland's got the most, as you know, the most aggressive climate law in the country. All of our buildings, 35,000 square feet or more, need to be net zero by 2040. I don't know about you, but I haven't bumped into many building owners or corporate tenants that even know the law exists. But,
I don't see it being enforced.
yeah, well, so, I think the challenge is, in the 1970s, we had the energy crisis, which caused us to tighten our buildings, reduce the ventilation a little bit to save energy. And the unfortunate byproduct of that was sick building syndrome. And I'm afraid that as we start to move forward with just thinking that, and not in your case, not in BMOD's case at all, but just thinking about, removing combustibles and making everything all electric, that clean indoor air automatically comes along for the ride, and it doesn't.
Mm.
I've been in net zero buildings. I've been in buildings with, the gold, the lead, the gold, the platinum, silver plaques, and they perform horribly from an indoor air quality perspective. And so I think we're running the chance of not focusing on the social determinants of health, focusing on the health and wellness of the building occupant, which I think is extremely important, more important than energy savings, which is all important.
Yeah, no,
Um,
yeah.
so I mentioned on one of the meetings that you had, just addressing the social determinants of health, healthcare financing for healthy homes as an option. It seemed like there may be a lane there for that type of incentive to be added to the capital stack. I know there's other examples of that across the country. So I wanted to get your input in regards to when you're thinking about structuring these and floor plans. I know that you're an architect. Where does the health and wellness of building occupant kind of fit into this whole schema?
Well, back to I think it's an iterative process. You can certainly design to a certain performance requirements,
Hmm.
uh, but you don't quite, unfortunately, we don't, as you know from your testing, the so-called most informed design team, aiming for net zero, somehow the resulting product is poor indoor air quality. So I think back to that slide where I showed the product platform process, where it's iterative, continuous loop of improvement. I would hope to see a system in which there are sensors, there are measurement tools that are integrated. And I would like to see a future where, I talk about the digital twin that we use to build things, but I would also like to see a life of that digital twin way into occupancy where someone is managing that digital twin and says, hey, this sensor's going off. Or, the radon is really high here, or whatever it is. And
Like a,
looking then back at the product development, like, are we using the right materials?
hmm
Is the mechanical system doing what it needs
hmm
to be doing? So I think there's a really great room for that evolution of connecting the digital twin with the real world built thing with smart technologies integration and a continuous improvement loop mindset. that comes with a modular approach, thinking of it like sub-assemblies of cars that can be swapped out as you learn and
Mhm.
as you evolve. So I see that as a future to get this right, to tinker to get it right. Um,
I love that. Are you familiar with Sir Norman Foster? Does that name
yes.
ring? Yes. The breathable building, right? He built 425 Park Avenue. A building for the people is what they called it. The building that actually breathes, a lot of natural ventilation, and then also built the recent J.P. Morgan Chase building in Manhattan as well, which is a very high performance building, not just focused on energy and efficiency, but also focused on the health and wellness of the occupant as well, which I think is very innovative. So it definitely can be done. And I'm
And
excited
you've
to hear.
tested the air yourself personally, Aaron? You go and you test to see if it performed?
Well, here's the great thing about that is my mentor, Dr. Joseph Allen from Harvard, T.H. Chan School of Public Health, was the indoor air consultant of both properties. So
Okay.
if he says it's good, I think it's good. But I'm waiting for an invitation to both. When I was in Manhattan for the last urban um, Urban Land Institute spring conference. We did a walking tour and it was still under construction at the time. So I'm looking forward to an interior walkthrough. But all
You need to go
indications
and
are
test it.
I
I
will.
won't believe it until Aaron Rice tests it and tells me it meets all the targets.
You'll see a post on LinkedIn, hopefully hashtag indoor air quality good. But hey, Christina, this has been great. Your contact information will magically appear on the screen so people can reach out and engage and make a donation to the nonprofit if you are and if people are excited about donating and contributing to your effort. Is there
Well,
anything that
I
I?
I don't know that we have a vehicle set up for that,
Oh,
but
okay,
we can talk to MCCI about that or Morgan.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want people to know about yourself or the work that you do?
Uh, no, I mean I think we covered a lot of ground.
I do have one final question. How did you get here? Where does this start? I know you're an architect by trade, but most architects aren't dealing in 3D volumetric modular and offsite construction. How do you get here?
Uh, Here being Maryland or where I am with you mean with offsite. So,
Yes.
okay. Because I am from Maryland, so this is home. Uh, um,
Here in the
I,
sense of profession.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think being from Maryland matters because, I spent most of my career in New York City, Boston, working large firms, large projects, and coming back here in 2017, just wanting to serve the city I love. I love Baltimore. I think it's beautiful. And I think it's a really human scaled city.
Mhm,
And it pains me to see it not thriving.
mhm,
And so when I came back in 2017, I was like, well, I want to serve the city. How do I best do that? Do I be a developer? Do I um, have an architecture practice? What do I do? And unfortunately or fortunately, I was distracted by some really wonderful architecture projects that were aligned with my past, career experiences working on large-scale institutional projects. I've done various projects now at Stevenson University, and so that's been a joy, and I'm really grateful for those experiences. But I couldn't stop thinking about how do I serve Baltimore? How do I help Baltimore? And even back in 2017, I was like, well, if I really want to help Baltimore, I'll build a factory that will give people jobs and fix the make housing products that fix the vacants.
okay.
And I was really happy to hear that Blueprint Robotics was here
Hmm,
and
hmm,
curious about how they were connecting what they do to Baltimore. And I've since learned they're focused on a different scale
hmm,
of larger multifamily than the messy infill. I know they tried a pilot project with City Life Community Builders, but it was kind of a one and done, and unfortunately, there wasn't the funding to try it again and see how to refine it. And so no fault to anyone. It's just this process requires iteration. It requires not one and done. It requires, you know, multiple pilots and multiple units. And so it's been in the back of my mind that I wanted to start a factory um, since 2017, but you say stay in your lane and you get distracted by nice architecture projects, and so you stay in your lane. But
Not
the thing,
anymore.
well, yeah, well,
Or maybe the
but
lanes expanded to a four-lane highway, maybe. I don't
well, frankly, so I guess it was a little over 2 years ago, there was the announcement of the 3 billion 15-year commitment.
know.
And I was like, that's great,
Yeah.
but how?
Mhm.
How? How are we doing it? And in speaking with, I'll say Richard Manikin, a developer here in Baltimore, was really encouraging. I had lunch with him and said, Richard, how are we doing this as a city? You know? And he encouraged me to like write a paper about it and talk to people. And so connected with Morgan State. And then in March at a fundraiser for the Key Bridge, I met Jen DeWeese at Maryland Center for Construction, Education, and Innovation. And so this has just organically grown as
Mhm.
people who really care. We see where we need to go. We see the alignment, as I said in this presentation, of the stars and the money and but how?
Mhm.
And I'm so grateful that ModX is helping us think about this. And I'm so grateful that the state and the city seem really receptive too
Mhm.
to talking about this. So I'm really optimistic about where we can go with this. And I really believe too, as an architect, I think that we need to better align and pivot to designing for manufacturing and assembly. I really believe that. And so for me personally, for my practice personally, I see this as a pivot point.
Mhm. Well, thank you. It sounds like you've been on a 10-year track in this direction, and thank you for not giving up. Thank you for not stopping. Thank you for not getting too overly distracted because we need what you're doing here in Baltimore. I think Baltimore will be better for it, and I appreciate you at least providing a seat at the table for me to be able to listen in and add value where I can and just be a part of what you're doing because I'm a huge fan of industrialized construction. Have my own dreams of doing some construction in West Baltimore as well. So look forward to working with you on those
Yeah,
endeavors
yeah.
moving forward.
Thank you, Aaron, for continuing to remind us not to forget about indoor health, indoor air quality, and the health of people in those homes. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Christina, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. Your subject matter expertise is right on point. And with that, I will bid you farewell.
Bye bye.